Welcome back to Hospitality Reinvented. This is episode number 24 with your host, Doug Radke, the founder and principal consultant at KRG Hospitality. Today, I want to revisit a conversation that really seemed to hit a nerve across the industry. It was a conversation that started while I was on stage in Denver during the hospitality show and the bar and restaurant Expo. It was a conversation that peeled back the polite layers and maybe addressed what independent operators are truly battling right now. We titled it The Real Cost of Business, but the truth is this: the real cost, it is not just financial. The real cost is also emotional and operational and cultural and strategic. And for many, it's also deeply personal. Operators today, they're not fighting just one enemy. They are fighting all of them all at once. They are fighting inflation and labor pressures and on and off tariffs and packaging costs and rent escalations and, supply chain volatility in a highly competitive landscape with swings in consumer spending. It is a very stacked deck. And yet the theme that emerged on that stage in Denver, it was simple. This industry is resilient. This industry is capable. But right now, this industry is just far too reactive. And here's the truth that we talked about. Reactivity, it kills clarity. Reactivity crushes profitability, and reactivity destroys culture. So today I want to walk you through the real cost of business and the shift that independent operators must make to win, not only now, but in the foreseeable future as well. This is not going to be a, how to, it is going to be a why to, a focus, on the reason behind the shift and the transformation that follows. All right. So let's dive into this. When we walked, onto that stage in Denver, the first question that was asked was simple. What is hitting your P&L statement the hardest right now? And again, that honest answer is everything. It is not just maybe tariffs alone. It is not just labor alone. It is not just your food costs alone. It is not your rent. It is the combined weight of all of that. Multiply that pressure by inconsistent consumer spending, and you have an environment that just seems to punish you every single day. But here's the thing. You cannot afford to just wait, and you cannot afford to guess. And you 100% cannot afford to operate in the dark. The operators who came to Denver were, they were looking for that one magic fix, that one magic bullet, maybe one lever or one system or one trending solution. But the real cost of business is that every decision touches another one. Every system, impacts maybe three more. Every variable has a ripple effect across your entire ecosystem. This is why, we said over and over on stage, and it's something that we have echoed here on the podcast as well, is you need a series of playbooks. You need, strategic frameworks, and you need clarity. You need systems, that support your growth rather than sabotage it. Now, here is another truth that I think really resonated with people during that panel is, hospitality, it's not broken, but hospitality has maybe forgotten itself a little bit. The best operators right now, though, are the ones that are returning to the fundamentals. And this is not the old school for the sake of tradition, but the fundamentals, the focus on quality service standards, a focus on the guest experience and connection and culture. And when those numbers, when they tighten, when consumer behavior shifts, when those costs start to rise, the fundamentals become so much more valuable. Think about the operators who survive recessions. Think about those brands that really stayed open during the pandemic. Think about the bars and the restaurants and the hotels that continue to attract loyalty despite the saturated competition that's out there. They are consistent, and most importantly, they are intentional. They have created environments, people, whether it's, staff or guests, that they've created these environments where people want to return to. These fundamentals of hospitality are not a trend. They are the backbone of resilience and winning during even the toughest of times. Now, another area that we talked about during this 45-minute panel was the need for strategy plus anticipation. We talked about how reactivity puts you in the weeds, but anticipation puts you in control. If you wait for your accountant to tell you last month's numbers, you are already behind. If you wait for your staff to tell you they are burned out, culture is already starting to slip. If you wait for guests to tell you they feel no value here, the damage is already done. Winning operators, they anticipate. They watch, leading indicators, and they track daily patterns. They read their market, and they know and they understand their target guests. Anticipation, it is not magic. It is discipline. It is visibility. It is systems, and it is clarity. Strategy is not something that you just build once and then revisit again maybe next year. Strategy is something that you live inside of every single day. At the panel, we also talked about the changing role of data because of independent, operators. Data used to be something that you maybe reviewed quarterly. Today, data is king. Data is available at your fingertips at every single moment. Data is now really the oxygen within your business. Data provides direction, but it only works when you actually use it. The wrong maybe mindset here says that we need more data and we need to collect everything. We hear that. The right mindset here, though, says we need the right data. We need the right insights, and we need the right systems to make decisions faster and better. Look at your guest frequency, average spends, and prime costs. Look at operating efficiencies, marketing conversions, and even your labor productivity. Look at your inventory accuracy. Data tells the story long before your accountant does, and you have the technology to help you out. But here is the catch. Technology should support you, not stress you out. A tech stack is not, supposed to add complexity. It is something that we've talked about again a few times here on the podcast. Tech is supposed to remove friction. The real cost of business, though, is not adopting technology. It is adopting too much or adopting, the wrong tools without a strategy behind it. Now, in Denver, we also talked about building menus with purpose. When margins shrink and operators, they start to often cut, menus or the quality within their menus. But the panel, we made it very clear. Your goal is to not cut costs. Your goal is to control your costs. For bars and restaurants, your menu is your financial engine. Your menu is your marketing strategy. Your menu is the story that you tell your guests. Now, today, the reality is that smaller menus, they are winning, and targeted menus are winning, and menus built on data are winning. Today, you need to repurpose ingredients throughout the menu, lean into local suppliers and create LTOs with purpose. And when you combine all of that, you create stories, and you can use storytelling as a value driver. Menu engineering is really two things. It's creativity plus clarity. The real cost of business here is not a menu that is maybe just too big. It is a menu that is not intentional, which all really leads to the next discussion point here. Do not discount your way out of business. Remember, consumers, they want value, they want connection, and they want an experience. They do not want, just desperate discounting. And the truth is, most brands cannot afford that. Bundling, on the other hand, this offers value without dilution. Experience adds perceived value without lowering your price. And storytelling, it enhances that connection without shrinking your margins. The truth is, discounts attract discount-driven guests. And if that is your thing, maybe go for it. But remember, experiences attract more loyal guests. Operators who understand the perception of value rather than just price are the ones who can navigate inflation without sacrificing their identity. Now, we also talked a lot about staffing on this panel as well, because again, labor, it is not just a cost. It is culture. It is retention. It is loyalty. And the truth here, again, it is fairly simple. You can't afford to just hire that next resume that comes through. You can't afford poor onboarding strategies. You cannot afford poor leadership. What you need to do is hire for values and train through your systems and communicate relentlessly, and then delegate with intention. Have stay interviews, provide goal setting, and focus on team experiences just as much as you do on the guest experience. Your staff experience is the foundation of your guest experience. And I'll say that again. Your staff experience is the foundation of your guest experience. But what about you as maybe an owner or operator or a manager? This is one of the more maybe impactful themes that we talked about in Denver as well, because many operators, they say they want to scale and they say they want more freedom, for example, and they also tell us that they want stronger brands, but they are still trapped in the day-to-day operations. They're still trapped in the trenches. They're doing tasks instead of building systems. They are solving the same problems instead of, preventing those problems. You cannot scale chaos. You can only scale clarity. We've talked about this again on a very recent episode on the real flex after opening. Again, having systems shifts you from operator to leader. And playbooks, they shift you from reactive to proactive. And processes, they shift you from burnout to balanced structure, which again leads to the next point here that I want to talk about. And I'm sure we've all heard this before. Hospitality used to love calling itself, being part of a family. How many job ads, have you seen or written that said, join our family, right? But families are emotional. Families lack accountability, and families tolerate inconsistency. You do not need a family when you are hiring. What you need is a championship team, a team that wants to win every single day, a team aligned by values, and a team that understands the mission, a team that is excited to wake up and walk into the building for their shift ahead. Culture, it is not perks. Culture is not parties. Culture is standards and communication and alignment and energy. And when culture slips, everything else is going to start slipping with it. The real cost of business here is neglecting culture because you are, busy with tasks. Listen, every decision you make has an impact. Hiring and menu design and vendor selections and your marketing and your training and your technology selections and your pricing strategies and your brand positioning. You have to be intentional every single day. Hospitality, it rewards those who lead with clarity. Hospitality punishes those who lead with emotion. Intentionality is what separates businesses that drift from those that scale. At the end of the day, your business is a reflection. It's a reflection of you. If you are burnt out, your team feels it, your guests feel it, your culture feels it, and your business mirrors it. Now, operators, they need to take care of themselves for all of this to work. You need to be intentional with taking care of yourself as well. This is not a luxury. It is 100% a strategy, because leadership requires energy, and energy requires recovery, and recovery, it requires boundaries. So as I wrap up here, I just kind of noticed this one is taking a little bit longer than the others. Here is the truth that really tied our entire conversation together in Denver. Independent operators can win, and they can win big, but not by being reactive, not through guessing, not through chaos, not through hoping next quarter is going to be, better. They win by operating with clarity. They win by building systems, and they win by leading with anticipation. They win by knowing their numbers. They win by investing in culture, and they win by developing their people. They win by being intentional and strategic and committed and aligned, because the real cost of business is not the rising, price of labor. It is not the tariffs. The real cost of business is the lack of clarity. The operators who understand this are the ones that are preparing for now, and also the ones that are preparing for the year ahead. And that is the future of hospitality. That is how we reinvent hospitality. Thanks for listening to Hospitality Reinvented. Until next time, stay bold, stay strategic, and let's keep reinventing hospitality.